episode of Tearing It Up. We've got a great guest with us here today. They all are great. You all know that. But this one I met at Sea Otter a couple months ago. Hard to believe it's been 2 months since Sea Otter. And we're finally getting on the schedule to talk about what she's got going on in the cycling world. And I'm going to turn it right over to you, Nicole, to tell the people. We always like to start with where exactly you are in the world as we record right now.
Yeah. Hey, Taryn, I'm super excited to be on the show with you today. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, and our headquarters, which is Boyd Cycling, is in Landrum, South Carolina now. We're in a building with a few other cycling companies because we're trying to create a cycling hub of manufacturing right here in the upstate.
It's amazing. Well, let's start with learning a little bit more about you, Nicole, yourself, and kind of how you got to Boyd and how Boyd started in the first place. But where did cycling come in to your life?
I'm from the Northeast, so I grew up in Vermont, which is a very mountainous region. Riding a bike wasn't really of interest as a kid because it was miles uphill one way. So I was an athlete, though. I downhill skied and did gymnastics and soccer, which all those sports, I guess, prepared me for cycling. I didn't realize it. So then after I graduated college, I moved to the Southeast down to Charlotte, North Carolina. And the weather was so beautiful there. I started running. I did a marathon, got super injured. And so a couple people said, you should cycle. That would get you, rehab your knee, make you feel better. And so I was very social. I was, 24 years old. So I was just really excited to be there. And I joined something called the Team in Training, which is through the Leukemia Society, where you raise money for a child who has leukemia. And so I was just so drawn to that cause that I signed up to do a triathlon, and I could barely run. I ran the marathon, was injured. I hadn't ridden a bike really ever, and I was a terrible runner. And so I remember the first practice, everyone was like almost a pro athlete, and the coach pulled me aside and he said, you should probably learn how to swim in all the sports before you sign up for a triathlon. And a friend of this other girl on the team who was a really good swimmer overheard him, and she was like, you know what? If you want, I'll teach you how to swim. So that girl is like one of my best friends still to this day. Her name is Karen. And she met me at the pool every day, and I learned to swim. And then I had another friend at the bike shop who helped me learn how to ride. So I made it through the triathlon without dying. And then this friend was like, you should probably focus on just riding the bike. And at the time, I was working in the high-tech industry for a startup organization. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was working probably like 65 plus hours a week, super stressed out, did not have a lot of time for anything. So riding the bike and just, having that as an outlet at, 24 years old was a really good outlet for me. And then I started meeting friends. And so over so during that summer, I would show up to the ride and I would get dropped every single ride. And it was a no drop ride. And so by the end of the summer, this guy pulls me aside and goes, you know what? I like you. You're not willing to quit. You keep coming back, but we got to fix this because I'm sick of waiting for you. I had some hard knocks early on. And so then over the winter, we rode the trainers in the back of the shop like 3 days a week. And I came out that spring and I was a completely different rider. I signed up for a time trial. I won it. And then I went and learned how to do like criteriums. And so I won the 2 that I entered into. And then another person that I didn't know at the time, she ran the Fuji Pro Women's cycling team. And she was in Charlotte. And she said, I heard about you and I have a spot on my team. Do you want to be on it? And I thought, what? That's incredible.
Seriously.
So I went from like basically 0 to pro within 2 years, and I was racing on the Crit Series, the national calendar. I broke my collarbone the first pro race I was in.
Youch.
Yeah, so it's just been a lot of like really fun. I mean, obviously challenges. I met Boyd my first year racing, and I didn't really know how to change a tire. I didn't really know. I knew how to ride the bike, but I was over my head. And so he helped me a bunch. And then, it was one of those things where I just fell in love with the sport. And I remember calling my mother on the phone and I said, you know what? I want to be a pro cyclist. And she was like, what does that mean? And I was like, well, it means I would ride my bike full time and maybe make a little bit of money. And she was like, well, you'll figure it out. Good luck with that. Which, at the end of the day, like that's the best kick that you can get, right? Like if you're passionate about something and you're excited, you need someone just to say, go for it, do it on your own. And so that's what I did. I always worked full time, but I raced on the crit series. So I was really fortunate. I raced for Cheer Ride, which was one of the most funded teams for a few years. Had an amazing experience. Some of the best pro riders were on that team. So I just learned a lot. And then after that team, I raced for Kenda Tire for 5 years before I had my daughter. And so, like I said, fell completely in love with the sport, had never been that consistent with a sport. The strategy of racing and the friendships and the camaraderie, I just kept coming back for more. And then basically in 2006, we moved to Greenville, South Carolina. So if you guys don't know about Greenville, South Carolina, it is the mecca for cycling. The mountains are here. The weather is incredible. It's kind of a well-kept secret. A lot of the old pros live here. The Hincappies are from here. George trained here his whole time while he was racing. So it's really good terrain. So we moved here because Boyd was trying to get a pro contract. And so after a few months of living here, he got picked up. It was like amazing terrain. And then we got married in 2000. And in 2009, I knew Boyd was never going to be in corporate America. He's an engineer. He's a free spirit. And I said, you know what? Figure out what you want to do. Like, obviously, can't race bikes forever. We're making no money. So at some point, we need to survive. And so he said, yeah, I'll figure it out. And so I actually went to work for Hincapie Sportswear when we moved to Greenville. And I was out at Interbike and I just called home to check in and say, hey. And he said, when you get back home, I've got something I want to show you. And I was like, okay. So I get home and he had designed a website by himself. Like he taught himself Java. I mean, this sounds like ancient times ago, but it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have all these relationships in Asia and I want to start this company. And I was like, well, I can pay our bills. You start it and see what happens. And within 3 months, he was like, I need you. I can't do this on my own. Because we were selling to like friends and family and teammates and stuff. And then there was this guy from California because we were making bikes, handlebars, bottle cages, and wheels.
Oh,
And this
Wow.
guy from California called up and ordered 3 bikes and 2 wheel sets. And Boyd was like, we're rich. This is all we need. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not all we need. But I was like, okay, I think I can maybe quit my job.
Yeah.
So I gave Rich, who's an awesome person from Hincapie, 2 or 3 month notice. I was so frightened. I was like, what are we doing? Because we had a house. We didn't have a child yet. But I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And so a month into my notice, he was like, you got to go do this with Boyd, Nicole. He's like, if it doesn't work out, you can come back, which was super sweet.
awesome.
I'll never forget
Yeah.
that. So anyway, so January 1st, 2010, full time, full gas. And we were out of our house. We were one of, I want to say one of the pioneers with direct to consumer because I called the bike shops and they're like, who the hell's Boyd? No way in hell are we bringing in these wheels. And so I was like, all right, well, in that case, we'll talk to consumers. And so that's how we started. And then the consumers started walking into the bike shop saying, you're my favorite bike shop, but I want these wheels. And so we grew to 250 bike shops with that format. So we're in
Wow.
over 500 now. It was like, it just happened kind of organically. And, we're full omni-channel now. So because we had to do things backwards, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, we can get everybody to play nice. And so it's interesting now because so many companies are just wanting to do D2C. And I can tell you, I'll tell you out to the world, that is not the way to be successful in this industry. You've got to be omni-channel. You've got to give people choices. There's got to be different ways for people to buy. And the bike shop can never go away because they are the brain of this industry. They're the community. They're the
Yep.
expertise. They're the friends. They're the people that are busting butt every single day. I don't mean to shout from the rooftops, but it needs to be said.
Please do. Please do.
Yes,
Yeah.
like we are so dedicated to the dealer. More and more and more. Every year we're doing more stuff to help the dealer. And so that's kind of the short story. The biggest thing that's happened is obviously COVID changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Boyd was in Asia right before, as COVID was starting. And he came home and he said, this is going to be bad. So he's like, we need to up our forecast now. And then we're just going to put our, ear to the ground and we're going to make play by play with what's happening. I'll never forget the first 2 weeks of March, it was dead silent. And it was like, oh no, we have no idea what's
Yeah.
going to happen. But because we were always a smaller company or bootstrapping, we always had to put our forecast in early. We always have to take, continuous orders. We never buy like massive amounts because, things change, right? Products change, people's desires change. So that was the best scenario for us. And we grew 125% during COVID.
Damn.
And instead of because we had stuff and no one else did. So it was one of those things where people were like, well, Boyd's got stuff. And so we brought in OEMs. I mean, we just scaled. That's when we went full omni-channel. And then, instead of putting all that extra capital into more inventory, we said, let's onshore our alloy. Let's become the manufacturer, which believe me, that was even scarier than when we started the company.
Yeah.
And so we bought the machines. We have a very good partner in Taiwan. They made the machines. They're all brand new, all modern. And so we brought them here and we set things up. And within 30 days, we were making rims. We had
Whoa.
expertise. We had training. We had people who helped us, who care about, what we're doing. So our learning curve was super short. So that was 2 years ago. And now we're making product for Boyd and we're making product for other people and other industries. So we've really started to scale with making wheelchair wheels. And so that's been really, really great. My dad and grandfather were both paralyzed in their lives just through different circumstances. And so that is a really big passion for me to help people be active. And so that's growing. And then in 2024, we were presented with an opportunity to purchase carbon factory out of Germany. And Boyd has
Wow.
always wanted to do carbon. And I said, we're never doing carbon. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And he was like, okay. Well, then this opportunity came to us and it's a unique process. It's braided and it's automated. So we purchased the assets, we purchased the IP and everything, and we brought it here. So we're setting it up right now and we're excited about it. I mean, it's another new chapter for us, but we will make products for Boyd and then we will also make products for others. And so with everything that's going on in the world, we really are excited to support our ecosystem and to help
Yeah.
others. So we're also doing assembly. So in our building, we have the ability to assemble, we obviously make rims, assemble wheels, and then we'll also, through another company, be able to assemble e-bikes all the way through high-end bikes. So that'll be happening this year.
Wow.
Bravo, my friend. That is incredible.
Yeah, there are
It's been a lot, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
so many things there to touch on. I definitely want to talk about the D to C thing, start
Okay.
there kind of and work our way up because I was just
Yeah.
having a conversation with somebody in this leadership program I'm in, and it was it started around sustainability, but we're both come from the retail space and kind of talking about what our roles in that, and that just led into a bigger
Yeah.
conversation of retailers and how important they are being like the middleman. You are the customer facing person, like D2C is great and, all this and that. There's so many other factors like that can make a difference. But us being in the retail space, loving like gear and talking to people about it and just having a true passion about getting people outfitted with the thing that's going to work for them. It's just so important. And I like how you mentioned, that you kind of did it backwards, and a lot of people these days are going towards DTC where they're putting more effort, a lot of brands, into that side of things, and your perspective of like you can't grow that way, I think is a big point. How do you grow? Because people are not able to walk into their favorite store, see, touch, feel your product, and they're a lot more apprehensive to buy if it's just online and they can't kind of see it or touch it first a lot of times.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we talk a lot about is, first thing is the products are not getting easier to work on, right? So if you think about like, when road was rim brake and caliper, right? Like those bikes, they just didn't have as many problems, right? Like they were simple, the mechanics, like they could work on them easily. But think about if a consumer buys a bike online, a lot of times, because people are moving really fast these days. I mean, I can tell you, I sell wheels still to this day, every day, because I love it. And I also want to hear what my customers are saying. But like, a lot of people, and this is no offense to anyone, but a lot of people don't even know what freehub body they need or what components they have on their bikes or what through axle they need. I mean, these are things that like, if you get the product and you don't have the right mix and match, guess what? You're not riding your bike. I mean, it's pretty tricky. And then, you get people that, maybe get a bike that's half built shipped to them and they'll cross thread stuff and strip stuff. And then they bring it to the shop and they're like, I broke this bike. You need to fix it. And there's nothing that the shop can do. And so I just say, like, as the manufacturer, it is our responsibility to make sure that one, the products are safe and that they're put together correctly and that people that are involved know what they're doing, right? Like as a manufacturer, like I want to make sure that, safety is number one, right? And that good experience. And so if you just think that way, what's the best way for people to have a good experience? And it's ease of use, right? It's like not having to worry about anything. And so I just say, like, with the bike shop, they need to be supported. They need to be able to make money. I'm just going to say that. Like, I can't
Yes.
over how many bike shops are selling stuff lower than what they paid for.
Yep.
Just get it out the door. And so, that's another disservice to the shop, right? If the manufacturer cannot figure out what their product sells at, that's another snafu from the manufacturer, right? So like when we started, when we came on the scene, we knew where we fit. Like we didn't have an ego. We didn't say, you know what? We're going to come out and we're going to be the same price as Zip. No way. Like our products were still, innovating, right? We were still like not making our own stuff. And so, to me, there's no way we should be charging what Zip was charging. And so it's just one of those things of just understanding like where you fit in the marketplace and making sure that you're priced correctly. And if you're going to go to the shop, you have to have room. So those guys are incentivized, right? It's like asking your best friend to come work for you and not paying them. It's like, that sucks. I'm not going to do that. So hopefully that answers your question. I get super passionate about this because it needs to get fixed. The overstock situation that's happened over the last couple years, the brands that overstocked, and it's easy for me to say this, right? But the ones that overstocked and they've got warehouse upon warehouse, that's getting down, right? It's not as much as it was, but like to just blow that stuff out, it hurts the brand and it hurts the dealer. And then the consumer's confused. They're just like, what's a valuable price? Like, what should I be paying?
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is like it's the used car scenario, right? Where if people think they can get a deal on it, they're going to ask. So, yeah. So that's a pricing thing, but go into
Well,
hours on
I
that.
think, yeah, all of it is, there's a lot of confusion. Again, this conversation I was having earlier, we were talking specifically about the struggles of retailers these days. And there's a lot of that because, again, I think a lot of brands are focusing on the direct to consumer side. And then there's things where they mark their prices down on the website, like for a new product that the store just got. And they're like, we just got this. Now on your website, it's 40%. So someone walks in and they're like, oh, well, it's on that brand's website for 40% off. So you should obviously have it for sale. So then they're price matching. And again, like you just said, confusing for the consumer because especially these days when there's so many things happening and even before the big T word was happening, the economy in general, like people aren't aren't in the best situations monetarily, a lot of us. So it's confusing to be like, okay, well, why is this one $90 and this is $40 or whatnot? And why is it coming directly from the brand that it's cheaper? But especially
Right.
when you live in a place where I live, like a mountain town, like kind of tourist destination, people
Mhm.
think you're just upping the price as like a Tahoe tax. It's like, no, this
Right.
is what, like, we are given prices that we have to uphold. There is policies that if we mark it down below the brand said price, we get in trouble and can lose that account.
Yeah.
But they go and do this and don't tell you all the time that, like, hey, we marked it down. And so again, overall, you lose trust, like, from the consumer side in the brand, in the store, and whatever, because you just don't know why something costs like what it does. What is your true cost
Right.
and margin of making this product? Are you just pulling one over on me all the time? But really, you could get away with selling these things for half the price and still make a fine
Right.
margin. So
Right.
yeah, it's blurry lines.
Yeah, I mean, there's, one of the main issues for, I think, the cycling industry is there's not a lot of data, right? So like, the auto industry and some of these other bigger industries, they have lots of massive, expensive software programs, right, that analyze a lot of the data. And that is one of the things that unfortunately the cycling industry is missing. I mean, there are analysts and people that are getting better at it, analyze a lot of the data. And that is one of the things that unfortunately the cycling industry is missing. I mean, there are analysts and people that are getting better at it, but it's tough when the data is not readily available for companies and manufacturers and anyone who's involved to make decisions effectively. So I do think, there's got to be a way in the future that, we can monitor just, some of the just some of the things that are happening so we can react differently. I've heard people say too, sometimes in the industry, people try to grow too fast, right? Everyone, when you start a company and you're excited, like you want growth, right? Like you have to grow to survive. But I also think like, the cycling industry is not a get rich quick scenario, right? So I think it's important that people do have, for lack of a better term, their heart in the right place and be patient for the process. Like, I can sit here and say, like, Boy and I have been patient, right? Like, we're going on 16 years, which I know is still young in comparison to some of the other companies that are in this industry. But, we've been in it for a good chunk of time. We've made it our life. We've raised our daughter in it, and everything we do is cycling related. So there's a lot of people in the industry that are like, we're just passionate people and we're here because we love it. But I also think that we got to get our act together here soon because there's stuff going on that will be really hard to correct if it continues this way.
Yeah, and it's just obviously there's a lot to worry about, especially as a company, a brand, and you just so many questions up in the air. And I mean, even on every side, consumer side, listeners out there, like, you have no idea if you're going to be able to afford to do your favorite things or buy a new jacket or jeans, like anything. It's not just the outdoor industry. We focus a lot, like we're focused in the outdoor industry, but it's not just
It's
affecting
affecting
that.
everything,
And
right?
everyone's
Yeah.
worried. And if you're not, I mean, I think you should maybe do a little bit of research and what this all means. It's definitely not only affecting like certain people, it will affect everyone. But without going into that rabbit hole, it's just, times are crazy, times are weird, but you never, ever, ever truly know. And I think that things are in our
Yeah.
face a little bit more, but overall, what we try to talk about on this podcast and like with our guests is that it's always kind of scary, right? I mean, you said, yeah, like you didn't give a 2 or 3 week notice, a 2 or 3 month notice because taking this leap was terrifying. You don't
Yeah.
know how it's gonna
Right.
work out, especially in an industry that maybe feels a little saturated. How do you find your place? And then how do you continue to grow? What's scalable, what's not? And
Yeah.
you said you were making bikes, handlebars, everything at one point. When
First.
Yeah. When did you focus in exactly like on just wheels?
Yeah. So because we bootstrapped, I mean, I'll tell you, Boyd and I started this company with $10,000. I mean, it was a time, China was open for business. You could start a brand with an open mold, which is what we did. We changed that very quickly, though. Within a year, we designed our own rims and our own hubs and differentiated ourselves. But Boyd and I had a small home that we started with, and there were bike parts in every room. Like we couldn't even sit down in the living room to watch television. I have a picture of Boyd sitting on the floor building a wheel, watching one of those wild man shows. And so I ended up reading this book. It's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's a great book for any entrepreneur. It's basically, the motto of it is focus on one thing that is a disruptor, that is a really, thing that you can focus on. So that book just made such an impression on me, because with bikes, we had different sizes, we had different colors, and it never failed. Someone wanted a 55 and a red, and we had a 55 and a blue. I mean, this is really basic stuff, right? Like this is like, we had 5 bikes and and so anyway, we just realized like, okay, this is eating our cash. Like our cash flow is being affected by all these different SKUs. And Boyd always loved wheels. Like even when he was racing pro, he would take his wheels apart and make improvements to them. So we made the decision to just focus on wheels after that. And it was truly the best decision we could have ever made, because we were able to focus. We were able to put all of our energy towards making the best wheel. It helped our cash flow. And then, so when you first start a business, no one's going to lend you money, right? They just don't believe quite that you can pay them back.
Yeah.
And so we were really fortunate in our town. We have Michelin here. And Michelin loves Greenville so much that they created this loan program for small businesses that, maybe didn't have the typical odds, right? So we pitched to them and they gave us a loan of $50,000.
Awesome.
And I remember our house was $100,000, and I was like, signed this loan that was half the amount of what we paid for our house. So it was definitely one of those very sweaty moments of like,
Yes.
big adults here, I guess. Anyway, so that changed our world, like focusing and then getting this $50,000. We were able to double our company um, the next year in size because of that. And then we paid them back, and then they came back to us and they're like, we love what you guys are doing. We believe in you. This is so cool. And Michelin obviously is involved in cycling as well. So they've been a partner for us the entire time. Like all of our rims they use for all their shows where they mount their tires. They've just been an incredible support over the years. So yeah.
That's a huge and like incredible partner to have in your corner there.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I mean, they were even in a position where they gave us accounting advice and HR advice. And so that program started when they had factories that they maybe had to lay people off or even close depending on where it was. And so instead of just laying people off, they had these loan programs so they could start businesses. So
Wow.
that's how that started. So they do that for their people, or did in the past. And so, yeah, so we were just really fortunate to be able to take advantage of that program. And, it's part of our success story.
It's amazing. The point you made about that loan being like half of what your house was, that's a big moment of like,
Yeah.
oh shit, like we're really doing this. I think that whatever your like, obviously relative to everybody in your perspective, but I think everyone's
Yeah.
probably had a moment at some point where you're writing a
Well,
check, getting a check, doing something where when you see those numbers in real life, it's like oh my God, I
what are
can't
we doing?
believe like I'm
Well,
doing this.
yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it's really cute now,
Yeah.
right? Like that was like, oh, that was so cute when we did that.
Oh my
'Cause,
gosh.
yeah, because now it's like millions of dollars.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 So it's just a different, I always say it's like, put one foot in front of the other, or,
Yep.
a friend of ours used to say one rock on the pile, just keep putting one rock on the pile. And, the thing that I've learned through this journey is that when you do what's in your heart, like what you see that there's a problem out there, or that there's something that needs help, if you focus on those things, it just happens, right? Like the money tends to show up. I know that sounds really corny, but it's like when you do what you love and you surround yourselves around people that can help you and guide you. There's another friend of mine that we met early on in the industry. He worked for one of the big wheel companies and he heard about us. And I'll never forget, we got introduced to him through our agent in Taiwan. And he was like the wizard behind the curtain. And he asked our agent, he's like, I need to meet those kids. I need to understand how they're doing what they're doing, because no one was doing that online direct to consumer. And so anyway, he's been a friend for this whole time and just helped like talk through things, guided us, always just kind of standing by going, go for it. You guys can do this, So you do have to have that network of people, right, that support you and that believe in what you're doing. So yeah. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, having people in your corner really matters for sure. I mean, I feel like you've attracted people like that in your life or have had them around, with your mom even just saying like, well, that's what it entails. Like, good luck, like that's better than saying like trying to talk you out of it. Right. And like, that doesn't seem to make sense. You shouldn't do it. This, that. I was just like, hey, good luck. I don't have anything to give you. I have no experience here. I really can't give you any advice, but like, more power to you.
More power to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck. I hope it works out. I'll be here.
Yeah, I can talk whenever you want. I will tell you though, when I broke my collarbone, she did say, "Do you think there's another hobby you could pick up?" No, I'm more motivated than ever to get back to it.
I love
Oh my
it.
gosh. Well, that's just mom, right? She's like, okay, now you're getting physically hurt. You wouldn't be doing that at a desk job, okay? Like
That's
carpal
right,
tunnel,
yeah.
but yeah, like, let's not, actively throw yourself onto the road or trail or something.
Yeah. Like seems like there's better use of your time. But I think about it, like, all that stuff happened. Like my whole life, my adult life has been formed by the bicycle. And it was meant to be. That's all I have to say.
That's
I
so
love
cool.
that.
I feel like a lot of people I've talked to in the cycle industry have had similar stories in where it started, as far as like actually did some other sports or something and an injury happened and that led them to cycling. I think it was Tasha from Curious Creatures who had some like more of a ski background, had an injury and then like found cycling again and still loves skiing, and a lot of people still love the other things, but it just reignited that passion for cycling, because I do feel like maybe these days, since mountain biking has become so much bigger and accessible, and I mean, look at the bikes that are for kids and things these days. There's just like so much technology in them but I feel like there's a good chunk of time where like us in the 80s and 90s and maybe even early aughts were riding our bikes a lot, but then you became an adult and a lot of us stopped unless you were like a little more into it for commuting or things. And I've told this story, like me finding mountain biking was like, oh wait, no, I do love biking again. And so I think it's one of those things that if you have in childhood, a lot of people experience a little bit of it in childhood, but then for whatever reason in life, as you grow up, you just maybe stop. It's like, yeah, it's lost its luster kind of thing, but it finds its way back into people's lives a lot. And I feel like I'm hearing that a lot more. And maybe that's just because I am talking about it more. That's like one of those the loss of attraction
Yeah, I
things.
mean, I definitely agree with you. Like when you're surrounding yourselves around other cyclists, yeah, it's going to come up. But I do believe that like COVID was kind of an awakening time for a lot of people who were
Absolutely.
not balanced, right? Like
Yes.
that's something that I realize even for myself. Like I tend to be a workaholic. And so, COVID, I think because people couldn't go to the gym, they couldn't go to work a lot of times, and they were around their families and they just started going outside. And then
Yep.
the bike was kind of that natural, because we have a trail here, and I just remember seeing all the people that just were fully clothed, like they had their tight jeans on and their t-shirts and no helmets. And I was like, oh, something's happening here.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so, like with our trail system, just in general, that's gotten people out because they feel safe on it. So I think, if there's more of those scenarios where people can be in a place where, they feel safe. I do think there's going to get more of a natural progression to go towards the bike, but also, it's just fun. Like you see so much more stuff on the bike.
Yes.
And then, we also have a lot of people talking to us about e-bike stuff because we can do replacement wheels for e-bikes because a lot of times the wheels don't last because the torque is too much. So
Yep.
we're able to replace those. But people will call and they're like, "Hey, e-bikes, like they're just like, why do they even exist?" And I'm like, actually, it's the best way to get people who rode as kids back on bikes.
Yep.
And so we're super excited about it. Like we have a lot of it around here, and it's just grabbing hold, and people are using them just to get from their campsites or to the grocery store. So yeah, it's fun to see. I do think ridership is up, and some of the data I've seen, it does prove that to be true, that ridership is up. So that's a good thing for our
Great.
industry.
Yes. And for people's lives.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
health.
It's
Yeah.
still moving your body, and for a lot of people, it's easier than, like, going on a walk or a run, and I've actually lately had a lot of conversation with folks who don't bike, and they're, like, runners or hikers or something, and I'm like, "Yeah, I, much prefer the bike because, like what you said, you see more things, or
More
it's just,
because you
like,
can
a
go
little bit
fast.
faster," and sure, on an uphill, I'm not moving very fast, but I get to do that down in half the time. So it's like
Right.
I will still go out and do that because the overall I'm getting further faster and it's
Yes.
Yep.
fun on the down,
Yep.
like so much fun rather than
So much
incredible
fun.
knee pain.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
significantly more sustainable on our bodies.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
Significantly.
the health piece is like really, really amazing. I mean, I've been riding since 24 years old and my blood pressure hasn't changed. There's lots of things because as you get older, like stuff starts to change. And I've had doctor's appointments where they're like, "Oh my God, are you dead? Like your blood pressure's so low." And it's like, no, I'm
Very
actually
much
feeling
so
amazing.
alive. Yeah.
resting heart rate of
um,
40.
yeah, it's like, because you're not pounding on your body, obviously, unless you hit the pavement. There's no reason to do that anymore. So, yeah, I think the more we talk about it and just educate people and you don't have to go fast. Like
No.
you can go slow, you can go easy and still have the benefits of it. So
Yep.
that's cool.
Absolutely. And e-bikes are, again, something that we've talked about in their accessibility. I think a lot of people had their worries about it as far as like on trail thinking. And I think it was more of ego, like, oh, you're cheating. Now they're going to get there faster than I am. And they're not even as good as me, is how I take it when mountain bikers specifically say things.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, think about again the access. Now I see like people who are very good mountain bikers who maybe were pshawing it at first. They also have an e-bike because really it's like, oh, well, I only have an hour before work. I can lap
Yes.
this a couple
That's
times
right.
instead of just get one in or whatever. I see people like going camping, like you mentioned, bringing their e-bikes so they can stay parked at the campground. And now they're biking around to town or to the river, whatever. So getting people outside more bikes, but again there's still obviously a lot of places in this country and world that are not super friendly to biking in city limits and things that I'm sure it can be terrifying. I know people are terrified to bike on roads for very good reason,
Yes.
especially as there's less bikers in those areas. Then drivers aren't as aware because it's just not something they're used to. So it's a
Right.
I
Right.
get it. I get it all, but hopefully,
Yeah.
just always want to inspire more people to get out on their bikes on a bike and give it a try. It doesn't have to be, like you said, super intense. It doesn't have to be every day of the week, but I just think it brings so much joy into people's
Yeah.
lives and everyone should do it.
Yep.
And I think for kids too, like I'm sure you guys have NICA where you are, but we have it here. And then I obviously, I'm really familiar and friends with the lady who runs NICA, and that program is amazing. If you guys don't know the details of it, definitely let me know because it is getting kids on bikes, not necessarily to race, but just to feel comfortable riding. And then they go camping, and there's like all these activities. And so here locally, we started the chapter, it was probably 5 or 7 years ago now. And some of the kids that joined just got into it, got really excited and just kept with it. And we're turning out more pro cyclists out of this area now than ever before. And it's just
How
happening
incredible.
naturally. It's not like, oh, these kids need to race and they need to be serious. They're meeting friends, and then they're adopting healthy lifestyles, especially in middle school, right? Where, kids can go either
Yes.
way. And so more and more people are getting into it, and the program's growing. Like, we have a friend that's in Utah, and they have over 7,000 kids in their chapter.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I think,
Wow.
that's another kind of a fun topic maybe for you guys to elaborate on, is
Totally.
just different ways to get people out on bikes and different
For sure.
programs.
And just goes to show
Absolutely.
the power of the bike, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah,
across
the
the board for
camaraderie is
everyone.
amazing, right? And when you suffer together, you form a bond. We have some of our
Uh-huh.
best friends that
Ain't that
we
the
ride bikes
truth?
with, so
Yeah, we talk about that a lot with, like, in the team sport realm, like, I grew up wrestling. It was like, yeah, you create this bond with people when it's kind of like trauma bonding. You're going through this crazy shit together that if you haven't been
yeah.
through it, like, it's another way of relating to that person going through the same thing and seeing it from the inside out, that it's hard to explain to people not in whatever world
Right.
you're in and bonding with others on that level. But
Yeah.
I know we're kind of running close to time, but I definitely want to talk about um the, like, manufacturing wheels for wheelchairs, and also manufacturing in
Yeah.
general, and what you mentioned earlier in the conversation of it now providing, more for others who might be in tough situations with overseas production and manufacturing, and you all can
Yeah.
hopefully be a place for others to continue on. I mean, I know, again, things are so up in the air about what will happen, but do you have a an idea, like, what you could handle or sustain? Like, how many others you could brands or, whatnot, who you could help with this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so on the alloy side, because, we're 2.5 years in, so all of that is set up, going. We can scale. We're talking to a few bigger companies right now because we do have the capacity. And so on the carbon side, we're still standing up the factory. We're almost done, like, set up. And so next year is really our goal, and bringing, more customers in, because obviously we want to make sure that we don't, get over our skis. I think that's important. It's easy to talk here and say, oh, we have a capacity of 100,000 rent, or whatever. There's
Mhm.
a lot more than that, but so I think, we want to grow it effectively. I do think there are some companies that kind of didn't think this was going to happen the way that it has. Like, we didn't know it was going to happen this way either. And so, I think it's more of just like, we want to open the door. We want to open conversations with people, to have an understanding of what they need and how we can
Yeah.
help. The reality is, we can't help everybody,
Mhm.
but we are looking for, a few good partners that we can help that, do need support. And so, we're proving our product. It's got a lot of automation to it. So we're not in a situation where we have to have hundreds of employees to be able to produce a lot of rims. So yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. But
Yeah.
I think it's more of like, right now, like, the conversations and some of the meetings that I've been in with, peers or other companies doing similar things to us, is just that it was kind of like, we've been working with Asia forever. That's just what we do. And so even
Yeah.
after COVID, most people just went right back to Asia, right? Because it's so turnkey. Everything
Yes.
that you need is there. Unfortunately, the geopolitical situation isn't improving. So no matter who is president, I do believe this is going to be kind of, an ongoing thing. If you think, like, we've had two major supply disruptions in the last 5 years, and we've had different leaders, right? So I think, without getting into politics, I think it's more about how can we form our ecosystem in the US? Like, Europe has done it. So if everyone would just look closely, like, Europe has figured out how to manufacture things, really
Mhm.
good things.
Yeah.
And so the US has the capacity to do the same thing, and not see each other as threats, right? See each other as ecosystem. And like I said, just supporting each other, because there needs to be more than one company in this industry.
Yeah.
There's enough to
100%.
go around, especially, with the ideas and the innovations that are coming out and that are in place. So hopefully that answers your question. But I think it's just more of like, let's open the door, let's start having conversations and just see how we can help each other through this time.
Yeah, no, that definitely answers it. And I love what you're doing and talking about it, because I don't know how many from the brand side. And obviously, we have a lot of small businesses on this podcast. Some manufacture domestically, some do not, but some just because it's not at a huge capacity. They can maintain manufacturing in the US, but obviously there's other things. Where do the materials come from? All these questions and concerns. And obviously what's happening now too is the fact that there's a very short timeline on things that are making people really freak out. And I don't think
Right.
anyone's against bringing more and building this ecosystem here, but no one can think straight right now, because it's like, do it now. It's like, no, we can't do it now. This is going to take a lot of time. And
Yeah.
we're all for working towards it. So I think hearing from somebody like you who is in the position that has some capacity to do that, to maybe help those take some weight off. And it might not be a forever thing, right? Maybe, and
Right.
hopefully that would be best, but it might also just enable people some time and headspace and everything, and their own mental capacity to figure out what the best next step is for them. And there's a lot of people not in that position.
Right.
It is nice to hear that there are people out there doing it and have the capacity to bring others along with them. It makes me think that, there's
Yeah.
some good things still happening
Hope.
in there. Yeah, exactly. There's hope.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Taryn, as entrepreneurs, I mean, it's like we've said it a number of times through this podcast, like there's moments where you feel like there's no solution, right? It's like, okay, I have to figure it out on my own always, but that's not the case. Like the reality is there is a solid ecosystem, and it's important to not panic. Someday I'll write a book about how entrepreneurship and bike racing run parallel to each other, because there's so many scenarios that work
They're
in
a
business
wheel
that are
set, if
so.
you will.
Yeah. Or like, I use the term, because in bike racing, and you guys I'm sure have heard of it, it's called no man's land, where you're not in the break and you're not in the peloton. You're in between. And so you're gutting it out. You're typically by yourself. You're in the wind. You're dying, and you can see the breakaway, but you just can't get there. And then everyone else is breathing down the back of your neck. So that's where I say, like, the industry is in a little bit of no man's land. And the last thing you can do is quit. Like you can't quit. That's not an
Yeah.
option. And so it's like, okay, well, what are the options? And so the one thing that I've seen a lot in the last 60 days is people just are pausing and they're not making a decision at all. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, pausing is not that's like basically sitting up, right? So you're in no man's land and you sit up, two things are going to happen, right? Like you're going to either get caught, or when you get caught, you're going to get dropped. Like there's
Mhm.
neither situation is good.
Yeah.
So it's like, figure out what needs to happen for you to move forward. And so that's all that I would love to just finish saying, is that, like, as an industry, we can't lose any more brands. Like
Yeah.
we've got to move forward, and we've
Yeah.
got to figure this out together.
I love it. I love your like where you're at there, and
Finishing touch.
you're a no drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
No drop, no quit.
Yeah, yes. Well, I definitely
Can't
want
kill
to
us.
touch on the new wheels you have out, if you want to tell people about those and what they are, or any other
Yes.
new products. And then also just a little bit about what you are doing with the wheels for wheelchairs. Is that like all wheelchairs? Is it like para-adaptive everything? Just in that whole realm, because we love our para-adaptive community.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure that they know how they can find Boyd in their different areas and needs, and then, like I said, the new launches you have as well?
So we're making aluminum wheels for performance wheelchairs. So basically, anyone who's looking to lighten up their chair that has there's a couple of different sizes. We don't make the small wheels, like they're the wheels that basically 700C. There's a couple of versions that we have, but they're for performance, purposes. So, and some people are racing on them. Some people are just using them for outdoor trail, getting around. Because that's one of the biggest issues with wheelchairs is they're heavy. So we're in a position to offer a wheel set that lightens their chair up quite a bit. And it's performance, so it's going to go good. And we a couple of the companies that we make them for, we install the tires, the handrails, everything. So it's a complete wheel set.
Oh, wow.
And so we have options that way. We will make carbon as well here, hopefully in the next year. That is in our plan. So that's something definitely maybe we can circle back up on later. So stay tuned for that. We have historically been a road company. Like that's where a lot of people know Boyd as just as road, because Boyd and I were both road cyclists. But we have a wheel set for every discipline, and we do some custom builds, but the volume that we're doing now, we're doing gravel, mountain bike, road, tri. We don't make BMX, but we probably will here in the near future because we can make kids wheels on the alloy side. So we're about to open tooling for kids wheels here soon. And then the two models that we just released, we released the Canuga FF, which is designed for downhill. We can't keep a hold of it. It's been so great how well it's been received. It's durable. It has 30 internal. It's just got a lot of features. You can beat the hell out of it, but it's not, crazy heavy. The hub that we have on it has really crisp engagement, so there's no drag, but you can go over rock gardens really easily. So that's been a great release. And then we also just released a new full disc wheel that retails at $1,650. And it's under 920 grams. And so it's crazy light. And people are breaking records on it. It's been really kind of fun. So that's been a new release. And we actually just sold our last one yesterday, and we have another shipment coming in. So try full disc wheels. It seems like they're popular, and then they're not, and then they're popular. So they're popular again. So we'll keep at that one. But it's been really well received as well.
So I mean, that's incredible. That's like what, barely over a pound?
Yeah, it's definitely something Boyd's worked on for a long time. It's important, like, lightweight stuff. Sometimes there's trade-offs, right? And we're a company where we never make things too light because safety and durability is one of our MOs. So we were able to figure out how to make it light but very durable. So it'd be fun for people to check it out.
Awesome.
Bravo.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story and the journey of Boyd. It's been incredible to hear, and what you guys are doing is incredible. It's so much. And I mean, like, what sticks to me is really that manufacturing and welcoming more people in and being that kind of like positive light and hope in that side of things right now, where there's a lot of dismay and discouragement and questions. So I think that's incredible what's happening there. And I just wanted to end it, Nicole, on you letting people know where to find Boyd.
You can find Boyd at www.boydcycling.com. And you can learn all kinds of things there. And then my email is nicole@boydcycling.com. If there's any questions or any things that people want to know more about, I'm happy to answer. So thank you.
Awesome. Y'all know you can find that in the show notes. So thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you all next week.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Taryn, thank you. You're amazing. I look forward to staying in touch.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and would do us a huge favor, since we don't have any sponsors or anything like that, and would rate and review us on whatever platform it is you use, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, whatever it is. And if you're listening and downloading just through the website, tearingituppodcast.com, leave comments. We'll definitely engage back with you. And on social media right now, we're just on Instagram. Tearing It Up Podcast is the handle. like the post, share the post, comment on the post, whatever it is you got. Show us your love so we just stay relevant and show up in the rankings at all. So again, rate and review, please, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.